Live from New Delhi, you're watching DD India News Hour, India's voice to the world with me, Deepika, coming up in the next 1 hour. The US and Ukraine agree to terms on a deal relating to critical minerals. Trump says Zelensky may visit US later this week to sign the deal. US President Donald Trump to host first official cabinet meeting. Doge head Elon Musk also to attend. Chile power outage plunges capital Santiago into darkness. State of emergency and curfew declared over extensive blackout. And Mahakumbh, the largest religious congregation in the world, to conclude today with millions expected to take the last holy dip on the occasion of Maha Shivratri. A very good morning to all of viewers joining us at this morning broadcast. To begin with the latest of the hour. The US and Ukraine have agreed on the terms of a draft minerals deal central to Kyiv's push to win Washington's support as President Donald Trump seeks to rapidly end the conflict with Russia. Here's more. The United States and Ukraine have reached a deal providing access to the European country's rare earth minerals and other natural resources. At the White House, US President Donald Trump has said Ukrainian counterpart Volodymyr Zelensky wants to come to Washington on Friday to sign a very big deal. This came after the two leaders exchanged hostile words last week.
Is it true that President Zelensky is coming on Friday to meet with you, and is the mineral deal sorted out?
Yeah, I hear that. I hear that he's coming on Friday. Certainly it's okay with me if he'd like to, and he would like to sign it together with me, and I understand that's a big deal, very big deal. And I think the American people, even if you look at polling, they're very happy because, you know, Biden was throwing money around like it's cotton candy. And it's a very big deal. Look, it could be $1 trillion deal, it could be whatever, but it's rare earths and other things. And look, we're spending hundreds of billions of dollars on Ukraine and Russia fighting. A war that should have never, ever happened. That's a war that would have never happened if I were president.
The deal would see the United States jointly develop Ukraine's mineral wealth, with revenues going to a newly created fund that would be joint for Ukraine and America. As Zelensky said, Ukraine had Europe's largest reserves of titanium, essential for the aviation and space industry, and uranium used for nuclear energy and weapons. Now let us know why rare earth minerals are important. 17 silvery white rare earth minerals are not uncommon in the Earth's crust. Deposits that are economically viable are more difficult to find. The complex process separates materials for permanent magnets used in critical products. Russia has proposed to the Trump administration a potential agreement under which the United States would gain some ownership of rare earth minerals. The Kremlin spokesperson Dmitry Peskov said on Tuesday that Russia had lots of rare earth metal deposits and that it was open to doing deal to develop them. Earlier, Putin also said that Russia was open to joint projects with American partners, including the government and the private sectors, under a future Russia-US economic deal. Bureau Report, DD India. And my colleague Akshay Dongre joins us with more information on this. Good morning, Akshay. Now, while there's a lot of economical value added to the deal, what is in store from political perspective, Akshay?
Well, the fate of this conflict now depends on this particular deal because both Ukraine and Russia have offered these rare earth minerals to the United States of America that has been a major provider of funds and weapons to Ukraine as far as this conflict is concerned. Now it remains to be seen that whether, the deal that has to be signed very soon in about a week, how it is about to go. In fact, Donald Trump has said that if the deal is signed, then the support of US will continue to Ukraine as long as the deal with Russia is not signed. So clearly there are political ramifications as far as this particular deal is concerned. And the fate of the conflict now solely is relying on the kind of deals that the US will be making, be it Ukraine or Russia.
Also, Russia is now proposing an association, as you also mentioned. Can this and such sort of more deals really be a game changer, Akshay?
Well, absolutely, it is. It is likely to be a game changer, Deepika, because Vladimir Putin has himself said that even in the occupied areas of Ukraine, all the rare earth minerals that US requires can be given to the US as far as a deal is concerned. In fact, he has also said that the minerals that are there in Ukraine are nowhere compared to the amount of minerals that are available in Russia, and that Russia is willing to deal with the US as well. So clearly, Russia also trying to position itself as a major provider of rare earth minerals to the United States, and that can perhaps, in fact, change the geopolitical dynamics of this entire conflict, as well as the geopolitical situation that we see around the world, with Russia being a major provider of rare earth minerals, can in fact improve the relations between the two countries, especially under the administration of Donald Trump.
All right, thank you so much, Akshay, for joining us and bringing us the latest on the developing issue. Now, British Prime Minister Keir Starmer said on Tuesday that he would host a number of world leaders for talks about Ukraine this weekend. Now, Starmer also said he'd spoken to French President Emmanuel Macron following his return from Washington, where he met US President Donald Trump. He further added that an increase in defence spending would maximise British jobs and growth, and described it as an opportunity to rebuild the country's industrial base.
And I am hosting a number of countries at the weekend for us to continue to discuss how we go forward together as allies in light of the situation that we face. The conflict in Ukraine is about the sovereignty of Ukraine, but it's also about security and defence in Europe, and our security and defence. And the first duty of government is to ensure that its citizens are secure, and that is why I'm taking that as a matter of duty and responsibility today.
UK Prime Minister Keir Starmer and French President Emmanuel Macron praised US President Donald Trump for working towards a durable peace in Ukraine. A spokesperson for Starmer's office said both the leaders spoke over the phone and reiterated Ukraine must be at the heart of any peace negotiations, and that Europe was ready to play its part. Now, Macron met Donald Trump on Monday, and Starmer will travel to Washington this week. And meanwhile, Macron and Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky also spoke by telephonic conversation, and both the leaders confirmed this on social media posts. Macron, writing on X, said efforts were continuing to achieve a solid and lasting peace in Ukraine, while Zelensky thanked Macron for his supporting in his nightly video address. US Secretary of State Marco Rubio met with Saudi Defense Minister Prince Khalid bin Salman at the State Department in Washington, D.C. The meeting followed the Saudi Defense Minister's visit to the Pentagon on Monday, where he discussed strengthening defense cooperation and regional along with international developments with the US Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth. The visit comes as Saudi Arabia, which is a key US ally, recently hosted high-level US and Russian conflicts to discuss the conflict in Ukraine and efforts to restore broader Russia-US ties. Egyptian mediators have brokered a deal to swap Palestinian prisoners for the bodies of 4 Israeli hostages. According to sources, it was confirmed that the agreement as part of its ceasefire deal with Israel. Tensions rose when Hamas accused Israel of jeopardizing the Gaza truce by delaying prisoner releases. Now, since the 19th of January ceasefire, Hamas has freed 25 Israeli hostages in public ceremonies, sparking criticism from Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, who called them humiliating. Now, the Red Cross has urged all the parties to conduct prisoner exchanges privately and with dignity. While both the sides have accused each other of violating the ceasefire, it has largely held since coming into effect. The Israeli army said it carried out airstrikes targeting military sites containing weapons in southern Syria on Tuesday. Now, this happened just days after Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu called for demilitarizing the area. The strikes targeted command centers and weapon storage sites. Israel's Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu had called for the demilitarization of southern Syria just days earlier. The Israeli military views the presence of military forces in southern Syria as a threat to its citizens. The strikes hit sites near Damascus and in Daraa province, including a strategic hilltop overlooking the Golan and northern Israel. Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov met with Iranian President Masoud Pezeshkian on Tuesday while on a visit to Tehran. And during his one-day trip to the country, Lavrov also discussed regional and bilateral topics with Iranian Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi. His visit comes a day after the United States imposed a fresh round of sanctions targeting Iran's oil industry. Lavrov said he was sure that diplomatic measures were still on the table when it came to resolving issues around Iran's nuclear program. US President Donald Trump will host the first official cabinet meeting at the White House, and this will be the first full cabinet gathering since returning to the White House for the second term. Presidential advisor Elon Musk will also be present at US President Donald Trump's first official cabinet meeting on Wednesday. Musk has no ministerial portfolio or formal decision-making authority, but has a status as a special government employee and senior advisor to the president, heading the Department of Government Efficiency, tasked by the president and slashing federal spending. Now, US President Donald Trump on Tuesday signed an executive order suspending security clearances for lawyers at the Covington and Burling law firm that worked with special counsel Jack Smith. Smith led the federal cases against Donald Trump on charges of trying to overturn his 2020 election defeat and mishandling of classified documents. Trump also signed an executive order aiming to impose price transparency on healthcare costs. The Secretary of the Treasury, Secretary of Labor, and Secretary of Health and Human Services are in charge of implementing and enforcing the transparency regulations. This includes ensuring the disclosure of actual prices, standardizing pricing information, and updating enforcement policies. President Trump opened yet another frontline in his assault on global trade norms, ordering a probe into potential new tariffs on copper imports. Trump signed an order directing Commerce Secretary Hobart Lutnick to start a national security probe under Section 232 of the Trade Expansion Act of 1962. Now, that is the same law Donald Trump used in his first term to impose 25% global tariffs on steel and aluminium. US President Donald Trump on Tuesday floated the idea of replacing a visa program for foreign investors with a so-called gold card that could be bought for $5 million as a route to American citizenship. Trump said he will replace the EB-5 immigrant investor visa program, which allows foreign investors of large sums of money that create or preserve US jobs to become permanent residents with a so-called gold card that could be bought for $5 million. The EB-5 program granted green cards to foreigners promising to invest in US businesses. Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick told the reporters that the EB-5 program is a way to get a green card that was low-priced, and they are going to replace it with the Trump Gold Card now.
EB-5 program was really, you lend some money, but it was full of nonsense, make-believe, and fraud, and it was a way to get a green card that was low-priced. So the president said, rather than having this sort of ridiculous EB-5 program, we're going to end the EB-5 program. We're going to replace it with the Trump Gold Card, which is really a green card gold. So they'll be able to pay $5 million to the U.S. government. They'll have to go through vetting, of course. We're going to make sure they're wonderful, world-class global citizens.
Chile on Tuesday declared a state of emergency and curfew across much of the country, including the capital, Santiago, following a massive blackout. The power outage affected the country from the northern Arica and Parinacota region to the southern Los Lagos region. The power outage has interrupted mining operations and has left the residents of Santiago without electricity. Street lights in the capital were not working, and the Santiago metro was also affected. Electricity transmission companies are working on investigating the origins of the failure and restarting service. Chilean President Gabriel Boric said that power had been restored to half of the 8 million homes affected by the power outage across the Andean nation. Boric also announced a state of emergency and a curfew from the northern region of Africa to the southern region of Los Lagos. Interior Minister Carolina Choha said the widespread blackout was caused by a transmission line failure in the country's north, ruling out a cyber attack as a cause of it. Time to take a short break. We'll be right back, but still to come on the other side. Friedrich Merz is most likely to become Germany's next chancellor as hard coalition talks loom. Train derailment in Rio de Janeiro highlighted the risk of high temperatures on train tracks, leading to white tracks as a novel solution. Pope Francis remains in critical but stable condition.
Timeless, boundless and infinite, the essence of faith, the soul of Sanatan culture, from the sacred confluence of Prayag, where divinity descends to earth. Witness the grandeur, the devotion, the magic, world's largest cultural and spiritual gathering, with over 450 million devotees expected to attend. Maha Kumbh, India's greatest festival of faith. Exclusively on DD India.
Welcome back. After that short break, you're watching DD India News Hour. Now, in Germany's federal election on Sunday, the Conservative bloc became the strongest force, leaving the far-right AfD behind. And to discuss more about what this means for Germany, let's cross to Thomas Sparrow, correspondent with our partner DW in Berlin. Thomas, Germany's next chancellor will likely be Friedrich Merz. What can we expect on this?
Friedrich Merz will most likely be Germany's next chancellor. And I say most likely because he obviously first has to look for a coalition partner and form a coalition, a process which could take some time. But if everything goes according to his plans, he will be Germany's next leader, replacing Olaf Scholz from the Social Democrats. Friedrich Merz is 69 years old and he would become Germany's oldest chancellor in decades. And his political career within the CDU-CSU has been actually a very interesting one because he was a member of parliament until 2009, then left politics altogether to enter the business sector and returned in 2021. And that space where he left active politics had to do with the fact that his main rival within the CDU-CSU Conservative bloc was none other than Angela Merkel, who would then become German Chancellor for 16 years. What you can expect from Friedrich Merz is that he will move his party from the center-right more towards the right of the political spectrum. Whereas Angela Merkel had shifted her party to the center, it's expected that Friedrich Merz will shift the party more towards the right, for example, on issues like migration, specifically how to target irregular migration, how to limit the number of irregular migrants that come to Germany. An important question for Friedrich Merz is what kind of concessions he's willing to make when he is looking for those coalition partners in the next few days and in the next few weeks. He has indicated that he would like to have a fast coalition negotiation, but that will also determine to what extent he will be a strong chancellor and to what extent he will be able to pass some of his most important policies once he's in office.
But how easy will it be for him to form a coalition there?
It won't be easy for Friedrich Merz and his conservative bloc to form a coalition. In the past, coalition building in Germany has actually proven to be a rather difficult activity. There was one time not long ago where coalition building actually took nearly 6 months, and that essentially meant that Germany didn't have a functioning government for that time. Now, Friedrich Merz has indicated that he would like to form a coalition quickly as possible, and he's looking to do that until Easter time. But if it was difficult in the past, it will be even more difficult now, given national and international challenges that Germany is facing. Nationally, obviously, an economy that is in a difficult state, the issue of migration, which is becoming much more complicated, the issue of security, which is one that is also important for many voters. And in those issues, Friedrich Merz does not necessarily see eye to eye with some other members of parliament, for example, from the Social Democrats, a party with which he could end up forming a coalition. So it promises to be a difficult challenge for him and for his conservative bloc, and it will be interesting to see whether he manages to achieve his goal to have a coalition in place by the time Easter comes.
All right, thank you so much, Thomas Sparrow, for joining us from Berlin. Moving on. Canada's Liberal Party is conducting a final debate among its 4 leadership candidates vying to replace Prime Minister Justin Trudeau. Chrystia Freeland, Mark Carney, Karina Gold and Frank Baylis are discussing key themes, including Canada's global role, economic growth, affordability and healthcare. This English debate follows Monday's French language debate, where Canada-US relations took centre stage. Now, during the French debate, candidates presented themselves as best equipped to handle relations with US President Donald Trump. The tone was cordial, with candidates frequently expressing agreement. The party recently disqualified Ruby Tella for violating campaign rules. Canada's Liberal Party will announce its new leader on the 9th of March. This final debate provides a crucial opportunity for the candidates to sway the voters and demonstrate their leadership abilities. South Korea's birth rate rose in 2024 for the first time in a decade, bucking a trend for a country battling a demographic crisis. According to Statistics Korea, the country's fertility rate stood at 0.75 in 2024. In 2023, the birth rate fell for the 8th consecutive year to 0.72, which is the lowest in the world from 1.24 back in the year 2015, raising concerns over the economic shock to society from such a rapid pace. South Korea has one of the world's longest life expectancies and lowest birth rates, a combination that presents looming demographic challenge. Seoul has poured billions of dollars into efforts to encourage women to have more children in order to maintain population stability. Armed gangs launched a fresh attack on Haiti's capital, killing residents in the Delmas 30 neighborhood and causing more residents to flee as gangs continue to operate unchecked in the Caribbean nation. More than 1 million Haitians have been internally displaced due to a year-long conflict in which well-funded and broadly allied armed gangs have expanded and cemented their control over much of the capital and surrounding areas. Gangs control large portions of Haiti, including the majority of the capital, and violence has soared despite the arrival of hundreds of police personnel as part of a Kenya-led multinational security support mission. The United Nations has warned that more than 6,000 people in Haiti have been forced from their homes by gang violence in almost a month, hampering aid efforts by humanitarian agencies. The UN-approved MSS has around 1,000 personnel from 6 nations, though mostly from Kenya, out of 2,500 initially expected. One Kenyan officer died after being shot on Sunday. UN officials have repeatedly called for more support for the mission and a surge of resources to the nation, where an estimated 1 million people have been displaced by the violence. Last week, the UN launched an appeal for over $900 million in aid for Haiti this year, which was only 44% funded. The UN recorded 5,600 deaths linked to gang violence last year, in a 20% increase compared to 2023, as well as 1,500 kidnappings, nearly 6,000 gender-based violence cases, 69% of which were instances of sexual assault. Now, Moroccan Prime Minister Aziz held discussions with President of the French Senate, Gerard Larcher, to strengthen cooperation relations between the two countries. This meeting took place during Larcher's visit to the kingdom in Rabat, Morocco. The talks aim to enhance cooperation between the legislative institutions of both the countries as well as strengthen friendship and cooperation ties. The Food and Agriculture Organization of the United Nations urges countries to take action to transform their agri-food systems and support global biodiversity goals. As part of the 16th UN Biodiversity Conference in Rome, emphasized the importance of integrating agri-food systems into national biodiversity strategies and action plans. The conference builds on the momentum generated last October at COP16 in Cali, Colombia, where the Agri-NBSAP Support Initiative was launched. Now, this initiative aims at assisting governments in integrating agri-food systems into their NBSAPs and implementation. A shallow 6.1 magnitude earthquake hit near the Indonesian island of Sulawesi, forcing residents to flee outside, but with no damage or casualties reported. The country's meteorological agency gave a lower magnitude of 6 and said there were no potentials for a tsunami. The vast archipelago nation experiences frequent earthquakes due to its position on the Pacific Ring of Fire, an arc of intense seismic activity where tectonic plates collide that stretches from Japan through Southeast Asia and across the Pacific Basin. A magnitude 6.2 quake that shook Sulawesi in January 2021 killed more than 100 people and left thousands homeless. In 2018, a magnitude 7.5 quake and subsequent tsunami in Palu on Sulawesi killed more than 2,200 people. And back in the year 2004, a magnitude 9.1 earthquake struck Aceh province, causing a tsunami and killing thousands of people in Indonesia. A Southwest Airlines plane and a private jet that entered the runway without authorization experienced a close call at Chicago Midway International Airport on Tuesday morning. Southwest Flight 2504 landed safely at the Chicago airport after the flight crew had to perform a go-around to prevent a potential incident. The Southwest plane flew over the private jet at an uncorrected pressure altitude of 900 feet, which was approximately 250 feet above the ground level, after adjusting for pressure and elevation. The FAA and the National Transportation Safety Boards are investigating the incident that took place at around 8:50 local time. The close call comes as the two agencies are investigating a string of safety incidents in a recent week, including the deadly mid-air collision over the Potomac River near Ronald Reagan Washington National Airport, a Medivac jet crash in Philadelphia, and a regional airline crash off the coast of Alaska that killed 10 people. Now, Pope Francis remains in critical but stable condition after battling double pneumonia for 4 days. The Vatican said Pope's situation remains stable with no further respiratory crisis. The 88-year-old was spending his 12th night at Rome's hospital, marking the longest hospital stay of his papacy. Hundreds of devotees gathered at the Vatican's main square to pray for the Pope. Senior Vatican officials and Philippine Cardinal Luis Tegal led prayers at St. Peter's Square on Tuesday. Pilgrims from as distant as Brazil and the United States joined in the rosary prayers, expressing their admiration for Pope's emphasis on mercy and support for the underprivileged. The Argentinian community in Rome also gathered to pray for Pope. Nuns from the Daughters of San Camilo congregation in Buenos Aires, an ambassador of Paraguay to the Holy See, were among faithful who gathered at Santa Maria Addolorata to attend Mass led by Cardinal Balterina. Nauru, a small Pacific island nation, is launching a golden passport scheme to fund its relocation due to its rising sea levels. The country plans to sell citizenship to foreigners for over $1 lakh each, despite concerns about potential criminal exploitation. President David Adiong says the program aims at securing a sustainable future for Nauru's 13,000 residents. With 80% of the island uninhabitable due to mining, Nauru needs funding to relocate its population to higher ground. The program's director, Edward Clark, says the scheme will provide visa-free entry into 89 countries and expects to generate $5.7 million in the first year. However, experts warn that such programs can be vulnerable to exploitation by criminals. Clark assumes that this time passports will only be offered to investors who pass strict due diligence procedures. Now, a train derailment in Brazil's Rio de Janeiro state highlighted the risk of temperatures on train tracks. And to address this issue, a railway company in Sao Paulo is testing a novel solution, painting tracks white to reflect sunlight and prevent overheating. Via Mobilidade, that transports 800,000 passengers daily, recorded 20 track deformations during intense heat last year. Brazil experienced its hottest year on record in 2024, with temperatures rising due to climate change. Tests showed that white paint can lower track temperatures by 6 degrees Celsius. While opinions are divided on its effectiveness, Via Mobilidade is proceeding with painting 35 kilometers of tracks by the month of February. The company uses a pickup truck with sprayers to apply water-based paint. Severe weather, including heat waves and heavy storms, is impacting train traffic in Brazil. By finding innovative solutions, railway companies can mitigate these effects and ensure safer travel.
No ano passado, a gente...
At this temperature, the rail can deform and create what we call buckling. It deforms and stops being parallel and starts to make ripples. This is dangerous for the movement of trains and can ultimately cause a derailment. The temperature of the paint has dropped by 6 degrees. So as there have been 6 degrees, this is relevant. So we decided to adopt this technique. We mapped the points and now we are carrying out this painting to reduce the unwanted events of excess temperature on the rails.
Time to take a short break, but still to come on DD India News Hour. Up next, all you need to know about India's first Made in India semiconductor chip, which is expected by the year 2025. After the break, we'll also get you the latest update on Telangana tunnel collapse rescue operation. And devotees continue to reach temples across the country in large numbers to celebrate the holy festival of Shivratri.
Geopolitics and trade deals. Economic challenges amid development. Hard work and the path to prosperity. It's the economy, always. Between walkers, money is what money does and says. Supply creates its own demand. Between the bulls pulls and bears tears. When supply chains globalization and India rises to the podium. We'll get you centered with the economic brief at 8 p.m. every Thursday on DD India. Timeless, boundless and infinite. The essence of faith. The soul of Sanatan culture. From the sacred confluence of Prayag, where divinity descends to earth. Witness the grandeur, the devotion, the magic. World's largest cultural and spiritual gathering, with over 450 million devotees expected to attend. Maha Kumbh, India's greatest festival of faith. Exclusively on DD India.
Welcome back. After that short break, you're watching DD India News Hour with me, Deepika. Now, the first Made in India semiconductor chip would be ready for production by the year 2025. Union Minister Ashwini Vaishnaw made the announcement virtually on the second day of the Global Investors Summit 2025 organized in Bhopal. 2 electronic manufacturing clusters have been approved by Prime Minister Narendra Modi, one in Bhopal and the other in Jabalpur. Currently, 85 companies are actively engaged in the electronics manufacturing sector in the state, marking a major success for both the governments. India has made significant progress in semiconductor manufacturing, with 5 units under construction simultaneously. To further strengthen the talent pipeline, the government has initiated a program to train 85,000 engineers in advanced semiconductor and electronics manufacturing. Meanwhile, Union Minister Ashwini Vaishnaw on Tuesday attended the Advantage Assam 2.2 summit, where he made the announcement of another semiconductor plant to strengthen Assam's role in India's semiconductor industry.
जापान से, साउथ कोरिया से, ताइवान से, जर्मनी से सब लोग आसाम में आ रहे हैं। क्यों आ रहे हैं? बोरी गांव में सेमीकंडक्टर प्लांट में साथ में जुड़ना है, इसलिए आप ऐसे ही आगे आने वाले समय में बोरीगांव will become and Assam will become a major semiconductor hub. एक और प्लांट सेमीकंडक्टर का लगाएंगे।
He also made several other significant announcements aimed at enhancing Assam's infrastructure and economic growth. Now, these include NEI-LIT University campus at Jagi Road and electronics manufacturing in Kamrup district and many related railway sector. He also credited Prime Minister Narendra Modi for unlocking unlimited potential and shifting from a look east to an act east approach. The rescue operations of 8 personnel trapped inside the tunnel of Sri Sailam, a left bank canal project in Telangana is in progress. Indian Army, Indian Navy's Marcos Commandos, NDRF, SDRF, National Highway Authority of India have come together for this operation. Telangana Minister Uttam Kumar Reddy said that the government is monitoring the operation and the rescue agencies are leaving no stone unturned to save the 8 trapped workers inside the collapsed tunnel. A 3-meter section of the roof of an under-construction stretch of the SLPC tunnel collapsed in Nagar Kurnool district in Telangana on Saturday morning. The collapse occurred just 4 days after construction work had resumed following a lengthy hiatus. While some workers managed to escape, the 8 remains trapped. Moving on, around 45 days, a whopping footfall of around 65 crore people and multiple Amrit Snan, the Maha Kumbh 2025 in UP's Prayagraj is concluding today, which is Wednesday, with lakhs expected to take the last holy dip in the sacred Triveni Sangam, which is a confluence of rivers Ganga, Yamuna and Saraswati on the occasion of Maha Shivratri. Elaborate security and logistical arrangements have been made for the last day of the Mahakumbh, for which a massive rush of devotees is anticipated. Chief Minister Yogi Adityanath reviewed the arrangements and closely monitored the celebrations in Prayagraj. The Indian Railways has undertaken special arrangements for Maha Shivratri, planning to run more than 350 additional trains from Prayagraj to facilitate the return of pilgrims. Union Railway Minister Ashwini Vaishnaw is closely monitoring the entire railway operation. People from across India and the world made Mahakumbh a global spiritual spectacle. The Mahakumbh 2025 is not just a religious gathering, but a reflection of the rich spiritual heritage and enduring faith of millions. As the sacred waters of the Triveni Sangam witness history, the event inspires devotion, unity and cultural pride. Devotees offered prayers at the temples across the country on the occasion of Maha Shivratri. Maha Shivratri, or the Great Night of Shiva, is an yearly festival celebrated on the 14th night of the decreasing moon in the month of Falgun, which is February and March. It is a special occasion in Hindu mythology. While Maha Shivratri is an annual celebration of Shiva's divine power, it is of great importance to devotees and provide them with opportunities for self-purification, worshipping and spiritual enlightenment. The Adi Yogi Shiva statue at Isha Yoga Center in Coimbatore illuminated with laser show on the eve of Maha Shivratri. The laser show, also known as Adi Yogi Divya Darshanam, takes place daily. However, on special occasions like Maha Shivratri, the show is even more breathtaking with mesmerizing display of lights, music and spiritual energy.
Devi Parvati, seeing sages, and Devi Parvati had ever witnessed.
Devotees thronged the revered Baba Baidyanath Dham temple in Deoghar, Jharkhand to offer prayers and worship Lord Shiva on the auspicious occasion of Maha Shivratri. The temple, which is one of the 12 Jyotirlingas in India, witnessed a sea of devotees eagerly waiting to catch a glimpse of the sacred Shiva Ling. The atmosphere was electric with chants of Om Namah Shivaya and Har Har Mahadev filling the air. The Mahakal temple in Ujjain gets decked up for Mahashivratri with great fervour. The temple has been beautifully decorated with elaborate decorations, lights and flowers, creating a mesmerizing atmosphere for the devotees. The Mahakal temple is one of the most venerated shrines consecrated to Shiva, and on Mahashivratri it becomes a hub of spiritual activity, attracting devotees from all across the country. Mahashivratri is being celebrated in Myanmar from Yangon to Shan with same fervour and devotion as in India. 200 Myanmar and Indian participants attended Mahashivratri Yoga workshop at the India Centre. Mahashivratri is also being celebrated in Shiva temples across Sri Lanka, notably in the Panchaishwaram temples. Devotees undertake a fast and pray through the day and night and engage in spiritual practices, praying for the darkness of ignorance to be replaced by the radiance of wisdom. President Anura Kumara Desanayake has wished the Hindu community in the island nation on the auspicious occasion while calling for unity and casting aside discord and embracing togetherness. For Sri Lankan Hindus, who constitute 13% of the population, the day is considered as a sacred and joyous occasion. On the occasion of Mahashivratri, renowned Indian sand artist Sudarshan Patnaik created a sand art featuring 144 Shivalings and 144 kumbhs at Puri beach in Odisha, which is a breathtaking representation of Lord Shiva's divine presence. The 144 Shivalings symbolize the union of divine and human, while the 144 kumbhs represents the sacred vessels that hold the divine energy. And India's President Draupadi Murmu extended greetings on the occasion. Sharing on X, she wrote, and I quote her, "I extend heartfelt congratulations to all countrymen on the holy festival of Mahashivratri. My prayer is that the grace of the Supreme Deity, Mahadev, remains upon us all and that our country continues to progress steadily on the path of advancement." Unquote. Prime Minister Narendra Modi also extended warm greetings on the auspicious occasion of Mahashivratri, expressing his wishes for happiness, prosperity and a stronger resolve towards building a Vikasit Bharat. And now let's get you weather updates. In India's Union Territory of Ladakh, Kargil district witnessed heavy snowfall today with 4 to 5 inches of snow already recorded in Kargil town since morning and is still continuing. Now this marks a significant change in the weather after a prolonged drought-like situation that had affected daily life and agriculture in the region. According to the latest weather advisory, snowfall is expected to intensify over the next 2 days, particularly in Kargil, Zanskar and parts of Leh, Nubra and Changtang. The western disturbance currently impacting Ladakh is likely to bring moderate to heavy snow until February the 28th. While the snowfall is welcome news for farmers and water conservation efforts, it has also raised concerns about road closures, avalanches and landslides in high altitude areas like Zojila Dras, Parkachik Rangthum, Khardongla and Changla. Authorities have advised residents, travellers and tourists to avoid unnecessary travel and follow official traffic advisories. Time to take a short break. We'll be right back.
always welcoming. The vibe of Punjab is larger than life. Warm up to grandeur that's beyond compare. And history that's dotted with tales of bravery. Smiling soul of India, where music, art, cuisine and culture comes together to create an unforgettable impression. Punjab is all set to win your hearts with its unique and colorful extravaganza.
Welcome back after that short break. You're watching DD India News Hour. Now let's get you all the latest from the world of business. Sri Lanka's parliament passed the maiden budget of the National People's Power Administration with 155 members of the 225-member assembly voting in favour and 46 against. Transport Minister Bimal Ratnayake said the opposition described the fiscal plan as a Ranil budget, IMF budget and a new liberal budget, but the NPP had delivered around 80% of its election promises. Deputy Finance Minister Anil Jayanta said the budget would increase capital spending. Meanwhile, opposition legislator Harsha De Silva said the budget had many good aspects and it continued many of the past policies. De Silva also raised concerns over expectations of revenue from vehicles given the high rates. Dr. Venkatraman Ananta Nageswaran, who is the Chief Economic Advisor to the Government of India, has addressed the Indian diaspora in South Africa in a relaxed meeting about strengthening the economy and global partnerships towards Viksit Bharat or Developed India by the year 2047, which is an initiative aiming at realizing India's aspiration of becoming a developed nation by its centennial year of independence. DD India's Nazneen Ismail files this report. Take a look.
Dr. Venkatraman Ananta Nageswaran, Chief Economic Advisor to the Government of India, addressed the Indian diaspora in South Africa in a relaxed meeting starting off with a meditation session. His keynote address was about strengthening the economy and global partnerships towards Viksit Bharat 2047.
This theme is aptly trying to address that aspect also, the aspect on global partnerships that of course is related to our partner countries like South Africa and the diaspora also, because they have a role to play, they have some contribution to make, and they also are in a way been encouraged by none other than Prime Minister himself through different initiatives that Prime Minister articulates. We in consulate and other consulates in Durban, Cape Town, and our High Commission, we always, have been inviting our diaspora, our South African partners, to look towards India as a partner.
There is a major scheme announced for farming sector, crop diversification, etc., that will enable India's value addition coming from agriculture to rise to about 20% of GDP from the current 15 to 17% of GDP. Agricultural productivity is equally important. Therefore, experiences of countries in maintaining soil fertility, water management, and also for better farming practices is an important element of global partnership. What the Government of India has been trying to do in the last 10 years and will continue to do so in the next 10 years or so is to put in place the building blocks that will take us to Viksit Bharat, and whenever circumstances turn propitious, these efforts such as building infrastructure, deregulation, governance change, investing in education and skilling, making India's MSMEs a viable component of the economic system, all these things will eventually create the conditions for driving economic growth, taking the country towards its aspirational destination of being a developed nation by 2047.
We appreciate the insight of Dr. Nageswaran here in South Africa. I'm Nazneen for DD India, Johannesburg, South Africa.
Finance ministers and central bankers from the G20 top economies gathered in South Africa for a meeting marred by the absence or curtailed attendance of key members and disputes over the main issues of climate, debt and inequality. Agreeing on a declaration has always been tough for gatherings that includes rivals China, Russia, the European Union and the United States. But differences are starker than ever, and some finance ministers were too consumed with domestic politics to show up. South Africa had hoped to make the G20 a platform for pressuring rich countries to do more to tackle climate change and to give more towards poorer countries' transitions to green energy and adaptation to worsening weather. Now, Meta, the parent company of Facebook and Instagram, is facing a lawsuit in the United States for allegedly favoring foreign workers over American citizens in its hiring practices. A U.S. federal judge has ruled that the lawsuit that claims Meta prefers H-1B visa holders because they can be paid less must proceed. Meta, in a statement, said the allegations were baseless and it would continue to vigorously defend itself against them. In seeking a dismissal, the Menlo Park, California-based company said there were no proof it intended to discriminate or would have hired the plaintiffs if they were not the U.S. citizens. But the judge cited statistics that 15% of Meta's U.S. workforce hold H-1B visas, which typically go to foreign professionals, compared with 0.5% of the overall workforce. She also cited Meta's October 2021 agreement to pay up to $14.25 million US, including a civil fine, to settle federal government's claim to routinely refuse to consider American workers for jobs if reserved for temporary visa holders. Shares of the U.S. electric vehicle pioneer Tesla plunged, leaving its market value below $1 trillion as investors digested disappointing European sales and chief executive Elon Musk's aggressive foray into politics. The auto giant sold less than 10,000 units in Europe last month, down around 45% from a year earlier. Tesla's shares finished down 8.4% to $302.8, a drop that sliced $89 billion from its market value in a bruising session. Tesla is clearly facing challenges in Europe, and the Musk brand issues are adding to the headwinds. You're watching DD India News Hour. Now it's time to get you all the latest from the world of sports. To begin with cricket first. England will take on Afghanistan in a must-win game in the Champions Trophy at Lahore's Gaddafi Stadium on Wednesday. A defeat would severely dent both the teams' dream of a semi-final berth in the tournament, as South Africa and Australia have already notched up 3 points. Hashmatullah Shahidi stated that Afghanistan will carry the confidence from their 2023 World Cup victory over England into their upcoming Group B clash. Meanwhile, England would be looking forward to bounce back from the defeat they faced against Australia and keep their semi-finals hope alive. And the Group B clash between Australia and South Africa at the Rawalpindi Cricket Stadium in Pakistan was washed out. Now, the match was abandoned without a ball being bowled because of persistent rain. South Africa came into the contest after a comfortable victory over Afghanistan, while Australia completed the highest successful run chase in Champions Trophy in its history to beat England. Australia and South Africa were looking forward to continue their winning momentum and book a semi-final spot before rain played a spoilsport. In soccer, Lionel Messi was on target again as Inter Miami surged into the last 16 of CONCACAF Champions Cup with a 3-1 victory over Sporting Kansas City on Tuesday night. Miami won the tie by 4-1 on aggregate, as it took Messi only 19 minutes to find the target in the return leg. Miami doubled its advantage in the first minute of first half stoppage time when Messi sent Jordi Alba down the left, and Miami successfully made it 3-0 on the night and 4-0 on aggregate 2 minutes later. Miami will face Jamaican club Cavalier in the next round. The first leg will be played in Florida in the first week of March. And that's all for this edition of DD India News Hour. But do let us know your thoughts on the news of the day. For those on the go, you can get all the latest news and updates from the country and the world on the DD India mobile app. The app is available on both Android and iOS platforms. Scan the QR code on the screens to download it right now. We'll be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. I am Deepika, and from all of us here in New Delhi, thank you so much for watching DD India News Hour. Namaskar.